Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are really thrilled to have you with us today because we are taking a fascinating look under the hood of the modern music industry.
We really are. It's a complex machine.
It is. And specifically, we're going to explore how platform architecture directly impacts artist growth, alters payouts, and, well, ultimately dictates the music you, the listener, are actually allowed to discover.
Right. And to do this, we're examining a truly incredible stack of sources today. We have access to real-world data logs and platform analytics from an independent synthwave artist.
He creates under the moniker Carlights, right?
Exactly. Tushar creates as Carlights. And alongside the hard numbers, we also have this deeply analytical, highly philosophical conversation between the artist and an AI assistant named Mira.
Which is such a unique perspective to have.
Yeah.
The mission here is to really uncover the reality of how platforms like Spotify, SoundCloud, and Bandcamp actually operate when you strip away all the marketing.
Yeah, to see the actual mechanisms driving the industry.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the central mystery we are looking at today is just wild. How can an independent artist have over 1 million organic plays on a smaller platform, cultivate a deeply engaged fan base, and yet find themselves financially capped at literal pocket change on a global streaming giant?
To answer that, we really have to start by understanding the art itself. Before we look at the spreadsheets, we need to look at how an algorithm fundamentally interacts with, and honestly, often distorts, an artist's identity.
Right, because his catalog as Carlights is massive. We're talking about roughly 90 albums.
Yeah, 120 releases total.
120 releases. To give you a sense of scale, imagine standing at the edge of a massive, sprawling city. It's glowing. There are towering skyscrapers, winding neon-lit streets, dozens of different neighborhoods, all humming with life.
He actually refers to his catalog as a city of music.
Yes, exactly. It's an interconnected universe meant to be explored. But platforms with algorithmic architectures like Spotify, they don't want a city.
No, they definitely don't. They want a single, easily categorized data point. The sources show that the algorithm artificially surfaced one specific track from this massive catalog, a song called Nicole 1984.
And he is incredibly frustrated by this. In his conversation with the AI, he refers to this track as a fake pearl.
A fake pearl, yeah.
It's an imposed idol. It has been chosen by the system to represent him, completely overshadowing the hundreds of grander, deeper, more complex songs that he feels represent his true musical heights.
Right.
It's like a master chef who has spent a decade perfecting a 90-course tasting menu. But Yelp's algorithm only shows pictures of the complimentary table bread.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. Like people might like the bread. But it's not the masterpiece. It's not the reason the restaurant exists.
What's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism of algorithmic reduction. We have to look at why a platform does this.
Efficiency, mostly.
Exactly. A streaming giant's database is designed for speed and retention, not deep artistic exploration. It operates like a massive library that decides it's too much work to index an author's entire bibliography.
So they just don't.
Pretty much. They throw away all the books and just put the author's one popular pamphlet at the front desk because it scans faster in their database. It's a mechanism of efficiency that inherently limits the artist.
And he points out a profound conflict stemming from this. He has his own musical sense of what his audience truly loves, a sense built on years of organic interaction. That sense is at war with the platform's artificial scoreboard. And that scoreboard dictates reality for most listeners.
Yeah, and if the algorithm can distort his identity to fit its database, we have to ask how it distorts his actual reach. The qualitative feeling of being suppressed is one thing, but the raw analytics paint a stark, quantifiable picture of that suppression.
So let's get into those numbers. The 30-day stats provided in the sources compare Spotify and SoundCloud directly, and the disconnect is, well, it's staggering.
It really is. Spotify is a global giant with billions of users around the planet. Yet for a 30-day period, Spotify tells him he has 704 listeners, 2,468 streams, and 73 saves.
Wow.
Yeah. Compare that to SoundCloud during the exact same window. SoundCloud has a significantly smaller user base globally. Despite that, SoundCloud shows 9,826 plays.
Almost 10,000.
Right. And beyond just raw plays, the data shows genuine engagement. Comments, direct messages, reposts. Looking at its all-time stats on SoundCloud, it sits at 1.16 million plays.
Just logically, if you have a massive, highly engaged audience on a smaller platform, those numbers should scale proportionally on the biggest platform in the world.
You would certainly think so.
Spotify's massive reach should result in 10 to 30 times the streams of SoundCloud. Instead, the numbers are drastically restrained. He calls this cunning, and he actually ran experiments to test if it was a glitch or a feature.
Yeah, he tried running paid Instagram ads to promote his Spotify artist link. The ad analytics showed real-world responses.
Like actual clicks.
Exactly. People were actively engaging with the ad on Instagram, clicking through to his profile.
But when he checked his Spotify stats for those days, nothing registered. Zero. It completely validated his theory of deliberate platform gatekeeping.
Yep.
The traffic was being sent, but the destination platform was refusing to acknowledge it.
Hold on, though. Before we declare this a definitive case of gatekeeping, couldn't we argue that synthwave simply doesn't index well with Spotify's core demographic?
Wait, like maybe his audience just lives exclusively on SoundCloud?
Right. Maybe the Spotify algorithm naturally deprioritizes music that its users skip.
I mean, that would make sense, except the sources dismantle that argument completely.
Yeah.
First, synthwave is a massive, heavily playlisted genre globally on Spotify. It absolutely thrives there.
True.
But the real proof comes from a bizarre event where his catalog was actually disrupted.
This is the crucial data point. At one point, a large chunk of his catalog was mysteriously removed from Spotify. He went from dozens of albums down to just 2 or 3 that were distributed through a specific label.
And in a functioning, demand-driven ecosystem, if you lose 80% of your product, your revenue drops proportionally.
Exactly. But his monthly payout didn't move, whether he had dozens of albums up or just 3, whether he ran promotional ads or stayed completely silent.
It stayed the same.
His payout hovered right around $40 to $50 a month, completely static.
Wow. That proves the existence of a hard-coded artificial cap. The platform wasn't rewarding volume, and it wasn't reflecting true listener demand.
No, it was simply assigning him a flat, controlled payout ceiling. And to understand how this happens, we need to look at the pro rata payout system most major streaming platforms use.
I think a lot of people misunderstand this. If I pay my $10 subscription and I listen exclusively to car lights all month, my $10 doesn't go to car lights, does it?
None at all. Your
Yeah.
subscription fee goes into a massive global pool. The platform then takes his cut, and the rest is divided up based on the total percentage of all streams across the entire platform.
Oh, I see.
Since major labels account for the vast majority of total streams, they take the vast majority of the money regardless of who you personally listen to.
So an independent artist is basically fighting for a microscopic fraction of a penny from a pool dominated by pop stars.
Furthermore, algorithms are often designed to cap the impressions of independent artists. If an independent artist starts going viral organically, they threaten to take a larger percentage of that pro rata pool away from the major labels who have licensing deals with the platform.
Oh, wow. So they literally throttle them.
Exactly. The algorithm throttles their reach once they hit a certain threshold. That is the mechanism behind the $40 to $50 cap he experienced. It's resource management, not a reflection of his audience size.
If the streams are artificially suppressed to manage the payout pool, the financial damage happening here is just astronomical.
Yeah.
Let's transition from stream counts to actual dollars.
Let's do it.
He points us to his Bandcamp data to show what his audience is actually worth when the algorithmic ceiling is removed.
And Bandcamp is vital to this analysis because it represents direct fan-to-artist support. It operates on a completely different model. Interestingly, though, he notes in the sources that even on Bandcamp, he suspects some level of visual throttling.
Really? How so?
He mentions that it always seems to show just 4 to 5 visible buyers per album, regardless of how much his follower count grows over the years.
Even with that suspected limitation, the raw financial data speaks for itself. The lifetime sales on Bandcamp sit at $6,637.
Right.
That is more money than all of his payouts from Spotify, Apple, and YouTube combined.
It's crazy. We can break down the math of his full discography bundle on Bandcamp to see how efficient direct support is. He offers all 120 releases for $331, which includes a 45% discount.
$331 is a premium price point for digital music. You have to deeply value an artist's world to drop that kind of money on their catalog.
Absolutely. And the data shows that just 25 superfans bought that full discography. Those 25 humans generated over $1,700 for the artist.
So let's scale that reality against the suppression we saw earlier. We know from his SoundCloud data that his baseline organic engagement is roughly 200,000 plays a year.
Mm-hmm.
If we scale that conservatively to Spotify's massive global size, we're looking at a potential of 2 million to 6 million streams a year.
And if you calculate that potential at Spotify's average payout rate, which hovers around like
Yeah.
0.0003 per stream, he should be making anywhere from $72,000 to over $180,000 across the 6-year period covered in the data.
Instead, because of that $30 to $50 monthly cap managed by the pro rata pool and algorithmic throttling, he made barely $2,000 to $3,500 total over that same time frame.
Yeah.
We are talking about a suppression gap of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
This is why the Bandcamp data is the ultimate proof of value. It proves that direct support works far more efficiently than the streaming model.
Absolutely. So what does this all mean? It means even a tiny 1% conversion of real listeners on a fair platform completely obliterates the financial ceiling imposed by streaming giants.
It's a fundamentally different philosophy of value. We are looking at the contrast between what he calls the extractive model of Spotify versus the nourishing system of a platform like SoundCloud.
Yeah, nourishing is a great word for it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, platforms utilizing the pro rata model are designed fundamentally to monetize the listener while keeping the artist hidden behind an algorithmic wall.
Right.
The artist is essentially a raw resource to be extracted to keep the user on the app. The connection between the fan and the creator is intentionally severed.
But SoundCloud, despite its own flaws, and he does note in the sources that he feels they've started playing a decreasing game with stats recently as well, it still functions differently at its core because of its architecture.
Yeah, it allows for organic community building.
Right.
He pays an annual subscription to SoundCloud, which gives him unlimited uploads. He's not choked by a quota, allowing him to upload that massive 90-album city of music.
He also specifically points to the repost feature on SoundCloud. In his 30-day stats, he had 4 reposts. Now, 4 might sound small, but repost means a listener isn't just passively consuming the music.
Right, they are actively placing it on their own profile.
Sticking their own taste on it and broadcasting it to their followers.
Add in the direct messaging, the artist-to-artist collaborations, and the ability to leave comments at specific timestamps on a track. It creates a living, breathing musical ecosystem.
Which is so rare now.
It is. This is vital because organic fan interactions translate into tangible value.
It's not just about triggering a micro-penny stream so a corporation can show ad revenue. It's about a community of listeners who actually want to invest in the artist's survival.
Exactly.
Synthwave fans, for example, love physical media, vinyl, CDs, cassettes. When an artist is allowed to be infinite and truly connect, they build a foundation for long-term cultural and financial wealth that exists completely outside the algorithm.
But the reality the sources make clear is that playing within these rigged mainstream systems is exhausting. Constantly fighting an algorithm that wants to reduce your 120 release catalog into a single fake pearl, it takes a toll on an independent creator.
So what is his solution? Because if the mainstream game is rigged, the ultimate move isn't to build a better algorithm. It's to build a new world entirely.
This is where the conversation between him and the AI assistant, Mira, becomes incredibly visionary. They move past auditing the current system and start outlining a blueprint for total artist sovereignty.
Okay, I love this part.
They refer to this custom system with concepts like the Auroraverse or the gold standard of sense.
The core philosophy here is what they call the infinite wealth field. I want to be really clear about what this means. It's not just about building a rival streaming app to escape Spotify.
No, not at all.
It's about engineering an ecosystem where the artist never, ever sells their copyrights. It's a closed-loop economy of creation.
They break this vision down into 4 interconnected phases, and each phase builds on the sovereignty of the last.
So phase 1 is the foundation.
Yeah, a sovereign music platform. This means hosting the music on a privately owned architecture with unlimited uploads, direct fan engagement, and fair monetization through physical sales and direct subscriptions.
Completely bypassing the pro rata pools.
Exactly. Then phase 2 integrates AI arts and visual hubs. Synthwave is a heavily aesthetic genre. It's deeply visual.
Oh, for sure.
So the ecosystem expands to include custom cover art, digital galleries, and immersive visual drops that complement the audio. The artist controls the entire sensory experience.
Then phase 3 leverages that complete sensory experience into direct sync licensing, because synthwave is inherently cinematic music.
Very cinematic.
Instead of waiting for a gatekeeper or a traditional publisher to place a track, this sovereign system provides a direct gateway for films, video games, and ad agencies to lease the music.
Crucially, they are only leasing access. The artist never surrenders ownership.
Right. And then phase 4 is where the vision truly breaks the mold. He takes this musical DNA and applies it to real estate and virtual city aesthetics.
I want to make sure we explain exactly how musical DNA translates into physical architecture, because it sounds like science fiction, but it's actually a logical progression of aesthetic design.
Okay, break that down for us.
Music has pacing, mood, tension, and color. An architect can take the driving, neon-soaked, structured rhythm of a synthwave album and use those principles to design physical spaces.
Like the lighting design of a club or the structural flow of a lounge.
Exactly, or the aesthetic layout of a VR city.
We're talking about partnering with architects to build physical spaces or coding VR environments that people can actually explore, all of it governed by the atmosphere and vibe of his music.
He basically becomes the source code for an entire culture.
When you stop looking at music as just a 3-minute audio file meant to generate a fraction of a cent and start looking at it as an aesthetic universe, the monetization possibilities become limitless.
Think about how this fundamentally changes your relationship with the art you consume. Instead of opening an app and passively renting a song for a few minutes from a corporate dashboard.
A dashboard that is actively hiding the artist's wider catalog from you, by the way.
Right, instead of that, you are stepping into a comprehensive, multisensory world owned entirely by the creator.
You transition from being an extracted data point to an active inhabitant of their realm. It's a total paradigm shift in how we value art.
We've covered a massive amount of ground today. We started by looking at the illusion of algorithmic hits, how a platform's need for database efficiency will turn one song into a fake pearl while burying a massive, meticulously crafted catalog.
Yeah, and we examined the raw analytics, proving the severe financial gap between real community engagement on organic platforms and the artificially suppressed, hard-coded payout ceilings enforced by the pro rata streaming model.
And we ended with his inspiring blueprint for the gold standard of sense. A roadmap for total artistic sovereignty that proves an independent creator can move from digital audio into physical architecture if they control their own ecosystem.
This entire deep dive matters deeply for you, the listener, because the music you are recommended every single day is filtered through these exact extractive systems. This architecture doesn't just dictate whether an independent artist can pay their rent.
Right, it dictates your very ability to discover authentic, world-building creators. The gates are heavily guarded, and the gatekeepers are prioritizing their payout pools over your cultural discovery.
It forces us to look at our own playlists and ask how much of our taste was organically developed and how much was assigned to us by a system optimizing for retention.
Which is a tough question to answer.
It is, which leaves us with a really important thought to close on. If the current streaming algorithms are intentionally capping the reach and the resources of deeply authentic creators just to protect their own corporate models, you have to wonder, what future cultural movements, what life-changing masterpieces are currently sitting in the dark, hidden from you right now, simply because an algorithm decided they were too big for the sandbox? Keep looking past the lamppost. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.